on me a lot.
Doesn't even sound like something you'd listen to.
It was one
In
of
my
those.
opinion.
Well, I do this all the time. I get Rolling Stone magazine. Every issue, they have reviews in the back. A lot of times they'll review a band I've never heard of, and they'll give it a good review. And even if it doesn't sound like a band that necessarily I would like, I go check them out because now, with the internet, why not? So I just do that, and I come across bands sometimes and just like, wow, I really like that band, or that's really interesting. I'm going to give them a little more listen and try a few more songs. Another band, did you ever listen to, they're from Portland, I think, Blitzen Trapper? You ever heard those guys?
They're all right. I mean, it's they're kind of like that, like they were, kind of have like, if I remember right, a little bit of a folky edge or something.
Yeah, kind of indie, folky sort of stuff. Definitely kind of go along with some of those other bands that have come out fairly recently. Like you've got you got like Bright Eyes, and you've got Band of Horses, and all those kind of bands, that have sort of arisen in the last 5 years or so. But I really liked some of the songs on their most recent album, which is called Fur. It's Furr. So it's like two R's, Fur. But I think I might link in a song called Black River Killer. I think it's a really cool song. And it's almost country folk, but they always have this little electronic stuff that they throw in there too, which I think is kind of interesting to mix it up a little bit. So it's not really traditional folk or country as far as the song structures go. It's very more poppy. The song is almost like something that would have been sung by, I could imagine a cover of it by Johnny Cash or something. Because it's one of those.
I know of a video that I'm going to send you.
It's a really dark, a killer out doing something made into a song.
It was just a little while past the Sunset Strip. They found the girl's body in an open pit. Her mouth was sewn shut, but her eyes were still wide, gazing through the fog to the other side. They booked me on a whim and threw me deep in jail with no bail, sitting silent on a rusty pail, just gazing at the marks on the opposite wall, remembering the music of my lover's call. Yeah.
There's a band called Red Fang from Portland in there, and they I actually got turned on to them from this video, but you got to watch the video is actually pretty kind of funny. But I mean, it's definitely like the video was so good that I think it helped propel them into a new level. I mean, just having
What's
a really great
song in the video called?
The band's called Red Fang, and the song's called Prehistoric Dog. Portland's really hot right now. There's a lot of really good bands from Portland.
Portland has been pretty.
It's been like
pretty
that,
hot for most of the decade, really, if you think about it. I mean, starting really about the time that Elliott Smith and Quasi and those bands were all starting to rise up. I think ever since then, Portland has been doing really well. That's like a lot of good stuff we covered. That's awesome. That's a lot of good. I'm kind of glad to do. It wasn't totally local music, but there's a lot of local music, and we should definitely kind of revisit that from time to time, for sure.
Oh yeah, always. I think it's always good to like talk about,
I think music in general. I think that we are going to definitely do some episodes that are just on metal or punk or maybe even more focused than that. But because we both have a lot of history in that, and we could.
Well, I'd like to do something where we consistently every week talk about the Tacoma music scene specifically. I mean, I always want to talk about the Tacoma music scene, and it might really help. I think it could really help. I mean, it's good to promote a scene like that's small, but it's been consistently happening. I mean, there's
Mentioned several bands this time. We should definitely have at least one of those in each one, or talk about one of those. Also, you could talk about each week, maybe if there's like some shows going on, Seattle and Tacoma, whatever, but especially Tacoma. Maybe highlight those, because obviously Tacoma doesn't get as much love as Seattle, but at the same time, there's sometimes more interesting stuff going on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, Tacoma's getting more noticed. From time to time, bands will spark up from Tacoma and get kind of help put Tacoma on the map.
And I was always amazed they actually didn't have more bands, because you think about the kind of places that bands rise out of. A lot of times it's places where there's nothing else to do, Like, I always think of places like Detroit. Detroit's notorious for being like producing just tons of hard-edged bands. Either hip-hop artists have come out of there, obviously lots of metal and lots of hard rock, punk rock. A lot of these people came out of Detroit, and you think of Detroit as being like one of these most economically depressed and just like not necessarily a place you'd want to go hang out, And I think Tacoma should have produced a bunch of bands too. You would think they would have. Whereas Seattle has always been kind of doing pretty well, a lot of pretty economically well-off people, a pretty vibrant artistic community compared to Tacoma. So you'd always think Tacoma would have done more, but maybe they are now.
I wanted to bring up this band that I found through a video that I saw Nardwuar interviewing somebody, and this band came up in the interview. Nardwuar was interviewing the Gossip, and you know how Nardwuar always does like this like amazing research, and he knows all this weird shit about that people that they barely even know, and this like band turned out to be like one of the members of the Gossip's like favorite band, and Nardwuar gave opinion, but it's a band called the Suburban Lawns, and I started researching them, and I really like late 70s punk bands. Anyway, so this is a great band that I found recently, and then also after doing a bunch of research, I found another band called the Rubber City Rebels, and they're from Akron, Ohio. And Akron was called the Rubber City because there was a rubber making plant there, and everybody and their grandmothers and grandfathers worked in the rubber plant. It really sucked, and it was a depressing city, and people got very rebellious and wanted to do something, and there was a punk scene that broke out of there in that area, which is the Dead Boys were from that same area, also Devo. The Bizarros, it's another band from Akron. I actually have a Bizarros record, and they're great.
I remember the Bizarros a little bit.
Yeah. And then and the Rubber City Rebels ended up moving to Los Angeles in 1978. But I mean, they had like at least a couple years, a year maybe or 2 years before that, they were playing pretty kick-ass Dead Boys kind of punk stuff.
Maybe they played a show with the Suburban Lawns.
I wouldn't doubt it.
No one else was around there, really that many people. Not that punk bands. Yeah. There was a few, but not many. Well, I think that is a good note to go out on this episode with two bands that neither of us have heard of, that probably no one out there has heard of, or very few, and it'll kind of be a discovery for everybody. And then we will see you guys again on the next episode.